All right, so let's continue into multi-qubit operations now, and we're going to start with controlled operations. So chapter 4.3, controlled operations. And we've seen hints of this so far, and we've essentially defined it. What we're thinking about intuitively is, a conditional statement. If A is true, then do B. For A being the control bit before, now it's going to be the control qubit, and B being whatever operation that we want to do on what we'll call the target qubit. So recall, I think from last time even, we had the CNOT gate. Recall, we defined CNOT as a classical reversible gate in the following way. It input 2 bits, a control C and a target T, and it also output 2 bits. The control didn't change. And then we added the control modulo 2 into the target register, the target bit. So we can make this a quantum gate now because it's reversible, and we can do the same thing for any reversible gate. So we're going to quantize this gate. How do we think about doing that? We just do it on a basis. So we can make this a quantum gate. Or in other words, quantize the gate itself by defining it in the same way, but where C and T form a basis. So we can do this by defining its action on a basis, and then just extending this by linearity. So formally, what we're just going to do is we're going to define CNOT on a basis state. It's going to be 2 qubits now. So I'll have a control qubit C either being 0 or 1. So I'm defining it with respect to the computational basis. And then I'll have a target qubit, again being 0 or 1. So 4 options here for the 4 basis states. And then we're just going to use the same definition. This is going to give us the control, and it's not going to change. And then we'll add the control into the target register modulo 2. Okay. So how would we write this as a matrix? We know quantum gates as matrices. In general, they're just unitary operators. Some operators in a Hilbert space, which are unitary for us. We're always working in a finite dimensional Hilbert space in this course. And so that corresponds to a matrix once we pick a basis. And recall that you could always write down the matrix for an operator with respect to a basis by just evaluating what it does with respect to the basis gates. So we've done examples like this before, and I'll just remind you. So the first column of the CNOT matrix would be what CNOT does to the first basis vector. Remember, you have to choose an ordering, both the ordering of the input basis and the output basis, but I'm using the standard one here, right? So we're just going numerically, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. So the first column of this is going to be what CNOT does based on this definition to the first basis vector. And then the second column will be what it does to the second basis vector, 0, 1, and so on and so forth, 1, 0, CNOT, 1, 1. So who could tell me from this definition of CNOT here, defined on a basis, what the matrix of this operator would be? Who could tell me, for example, what the first column of CNOT is going to be?
Is it 0, 1, 0, 0?
Close. What will it be as a ket in Dirac notation? So let's start from this definition. 0, 0 here. So what should the output be?
0, 1.
Still 0, 0.
All right.
Still 0, 0. Yeah. So 0, 0 plus 0. So now what should the...
So 1, 0, 0.
Exactly right. So 1, 0, 0, 0. 1, 0, 0, 0. Does everyone see that? We worked through just the definition on a basis. C and T being 0 as the input implies the output is 0, 0. And then you have to remember, in addition to the gates, the kets, certainly the 0 ket and the 1 ket, right? And how to do tensor products of those. So 0, 0 as a ket is this as a vector. And now, one more, who could tell me now? Well, okay, I'll do this one, and I'll leave the next ones, which are maybe more interesting. So in this case, CNOT 01 is going to be 0100. Make sure you could work that out and see why that's true. Now let's do one more. Who could tell me what the third column of CNOT as a matrix will be? So that's CNOT applied to the basis vector 1, 0. Exactly right. So let's just go through that. So control is 1, target is 0. Control is 1, so I'm going to flip the target. That's what CNOT is saying. So I'm going to end up with 1, 1, cat 1, 1. That as a vector, column vector is 0, 0, 0, 1. And then the last one will work out to be 0, 0, 1, 0. Okay? So we've kept the first two columns the same. And then we've permuted the order of the last two columns. And we have an understanding of what that's doing in terms of this definition. We're going to flip the target bits if the control bit is 1. Otherwise, we do nothing. So you can verify from this. We're more familiar with matrices. You could verify that the matrix product, CNOT dagger times CNOT, is identity. And of course, we require that for unitary operations. So you could work out the 4x4 matrix multiplication to see that. You could also work it out from this definition on a basis. It would be the same way that we did it last time. If I did CNOT twice, CNOT is also going to be Hermitian. So if I did that twice, then I would add the control bit twice here. That's going to be 0. Something XOR itself is always equal to 0. So two ways to see that the CNOT gate is indeed unitary. The notation that we'll use for CNOT, this is one of the exceptions where the circuit symbol is somewhat interesting, is whatever the control bit is, we do a solid line, and then whatever the target bit is, we do a circle plus. So this would be the control register C, this would be the target register C, and then the output, defining it in the same way for basis here, C, T plus C. Of course, you can apply CNOT to not separable input, so an entangled input, and you would just do that by linearity.